Welcome back to the history of English literature. In the last videos, we have seen the origin of drama. Now we will continue with the predecessors of drama. In the last videos, we have analyzed mystery plays, miracle plays, morality plays, how they have evolved, how they have developed in each period itself. Now we are going to look at the next type of play that is developed, that is called interludes. Now let's revise what are they. So you know that what is mystery plays? It is evolved during the 11th and 12th century. Mystery means secret and religious truth. It's all based on the stories from the Bible. Next, the miracle plays evolved in the 13th century. It's all about the lives of saints. Next, in the end of the 14th century, there originated a kind of plays called morality plays. These are all played by the personified characters. It's all about the moral behaviors. And amidst these all things, a lot of things happen in the terms of social and historical background of England. The plague continued to attack England. The fortunes of England go up and down because of the interference of the church, because of the growing corruption, because of the cosmopolitanism that gradually setting in, because of the mass migration from the rural hinterlands to the city of London. All these things are happening in the background, and by the mid 15th century, we find that for a brief period of time, the church outlaws all kinds of performances because the church found it increasingly difficult to deal with the criticisms that were coming through these plays, and also the commoners were getting quite so much interested in all these things that they also knew how to engage with biblical concepts and biblical stories from a critical angle as well. So, due to these various other reasons and scenes with morality play, the play also had moved far from the church setting and also from the theological themes. The church outlaws, the performances and the theatres were then built outside the city walls, and for a brief period of time, this was also to contain the spread of a plague, which was becoming quite a prevalent thing during that time. Now, by the middle of the 16th century, there is again a revival, and we find that the interludes become more common during this period. So, by this time, England had left behind the miracle plays, the morality plays, the mystery plays, and interludes could be considered as a higher and advanced kind of morality plays. So this was in fact structured in such a way that this had real characters, no more abstract notions or abstract virtues. This had real characters, and the play used to be very short. There was always a scene of humor which was woven into this as well. So we find a radical shift from abstract qualities to individuals, and most of these individuals were also real. So much so that the commoners could even relate to the characters were being represented on stage. They could be from the court, they could be one of the member from the council, they could be one of the tradesmen. So they know around the corner, that people that are know around the corner. So it had a very different kind of appeal to the commoners. Then in these interludes, we also see beginning of the social satire as well, and we also find a complete absence of allegorical figures over there. There is a sense of very real representations coming in, so things that are no longer subtle because they are on the contrary right on one's face, and we also find a radical shift from morality to that of the comedy. This is also the time when foundations of the subtle England humor are being laid in medieval England, and one of the most prominent playwrights of this time was John Heywood. John Heywood was a court musician. He was also one of the prominent entertainers at Henry VIII's court. Henry VIII, if you can remember, is the king who broke away from Roman Catholic Church and had his own Church of England, and John Heywood's play The four-piece was immensely popular during the middle of the 16th century. It continued to have a lasting appeal even in the Elizabethan period. The four-piece in fact signifies a peddler, a palmer, a pardoner, and a pothecary, people from different walks of life, and the plot of the play was about a lying match between all of these four people. So this had a lot of humor built into it, lots of satire built into it. It is said that the commoners could even identify who these four real characters were. So in that sense, it also enjoyed immense popularity during this time. So let me sum up what we have seen in this video. So what happened in the middle of the 15th century? The church, outlaws, the performances, the theatres were built outside of the city. The theatres were not allowed to perform in the city because of the pandemic situation and in the manner of discipline. In the middle of the 16th century, there comes a new kind of plays called interludes. Actually, these are a short play with real characters. What are the features of the interludes? There is a shift from abstractions to individuals, that is abstract characters to the individuals, real characters. There is an absence of allegorical figures. There is no allegorical figure, it's only the real figures. The common people also can compare the real people with the characters that are acting on the stage. As well as there is a shift from morality to comedy. So, an interlude, by definition, is a period of time between events or activities. In literature, there is no different describing events and activities between plot points. The interlude can be relevant to the plot or not depending on author's craft. So, Victor Hugo's Les Miserables is one of the best examples of interlude in literature. John Heywood was a court musician at the court of Henry VIII. He wrote a famous interlude called The Four-Piece. Now let us look at some of the questions from the interludes and the mid of the 15th century. So the first question is, the interludes deal with option A, short stories with real characters, fiction, verse poem, it is verse poem, short stories with real allegorical characters. Actually, the interludes deal with the short stories with the real character. So if we move on to the next question, the interludes originated in the last century. It is 18th century, 14th century, 19th century or 16th century. The interludes were originated in the middle of the 16th century. So as well as we know, interludes dealt with the real characters. There is a shift from abstractional characters to the individuals. So there is So if we move on to the next question, John Heywood was a musician in the court of Henry VIII, James I, Charles I, none of the above. The answer is Henry VIII, who divided the church from the Roman Catholics. So if we move on to the next question, John Heywood, who wrote dash? John Heywood wrote The Four-Piece. It is a best example for interludes. The next question is, what happened in the middle of the 15th century? Option A, churches were closed down. Option B, theatres were built outside of the city. Option C, churches encouraged the performances of the theatre. Option D, churches were refined. Actually, there was a corruptions, as well as the churches did not encourage the performances due to plagues and the immorality or the entertainment mindset of the people. The churches were not closed down that time. Actually, the theatres only were built outside of the city. So option B is the correct one. So that's all today for this video. So have a great day. Thank you.